We're here today with Dr. Mar Doering at All Paws Medical and Behavioral Center, and we've got some questions for her regarding behavioral medicine. Hello, Mar.
Hi, thank you for coming.
We're going to start right off today. I was curious, why are you interested in behavioral medicine?
Well, that's a very good question. As you can see, I have part of my gang here. I actually have 8 dogs, and when you have 8 dogs, behavioral medicine is really important. But I started being interested in behavioral medicine a long time ago, actually when I was a child. And it was because I saw what a difference it made in my pet's life and in my entire family life to have a pet that was well behaved. Really started when one of our Westies, and here are 2 of the Westies, I've kept that up for years, having Westies in my life, but our Westie at the time, named Mac, decided he was going to rearrange everything, including the drapery, in our family room. My mom was not too thrilled, and she was a great dog trainer. So I learned from her, and I learned what a big effect it had on our home and our family and our dog, making him happy, healthy member of the family, bringing balance in. As a veterinarian, I see so many differences when an animal is actually well balanced, because sadly, sometimes you have the most perfect pet that a family could ever have medically, but they just don't fit with the family because they're having some behavioral issues. So I see every day how important it is to have an animal that is well balanced and part of the family, so that they can be a best friend like my guys are here, which I truly love.
Well, it sounds like something you're very passionate about, Mar. What kind of patients do you work with for behavioral issues?
I mostly work with dogs and cats, and I will say we see more dogs than we do cats, which doesn't mean that cats don't have behavioral issues, but I think more people think about bringing their dogs to a behavioral specialist. I think that many dogs that have behavioral issues can be helped, but really and truly, even puppies and kitties can come in for training so that they will start their life off as happy, part of the family, well bonded to the family, well balanced, and it makes a huge difference. Therefore, we don't even see behavioral issues because they're already part of the family from the very beginning and really have a good, balanced beginning.
So what is the most common behavioral problem you see?
Gosh, with dogs we see many behavioral problems, many issues. I would say the biggest thing that I see is fear in dogs. And sometimes people will say, oh gee, they're barking because they have behavioral issues with territorial barking. Sometimes they'll say that they are aggressive. Sometimes they will say that they are afraid of thunderstorms, for example. But the truth of the matter is, a lot of these things that people will say is aggression is actually fear aggressive, because the animal is so frightened by something or someone that is moving forward, and they don't quite realize what they're doing to scare the animal, and the animal acts first to avoid and then maybe to try to run away. But sometimes it feels trapped, and that animal is scared and becomes aggressive. So some things are sometimes misdiagnosed by the owner. So oftentimes they're brought in for one thing, and it turns out there is something quite different. So I would say that the biggest thing I see is anxiety-driven, fear-driven, but in most cases people bring the dogs in for something entirely different, they think, and at the base of it we see anxiety, and that's what needs to be helped.
So are these the kind of behavioral problems that you can help with?
Oh, absolutely. I will say that that's something that I enjoy, seeing all the differences and all the help that we can give them. It's almost like working with an animal and seeing them blossom to change right before your eyes, because once they realize they no longer have to be fearful, it makes a huge difference. And you can see it right in the room on the very first occasion that I meet with the dog and the owner, and oftentimes the owners can't even believe how different their animal acts once we start to work. So yes, it can make a huge difference when we do our work.
So you were talking about fear and anxieties. Are these behavioral issues that you could use just medications for?
Actually, medications can be used in some cases, and I must say I hardly ever use medications. But medications can be used to help. But training is the absolute most important thing that you can do. Training is what it's all about, because the animal has to really understand that their owner is willing to help them, to bond with them, to understand, and more than anything, to communicate with them. And all the medication in the world is not going to make a difference there. So medicine can help, and occasionally we've had to use it, especially for severe anxieties, but really never depend on medication by itself. You absolutely have to do the work. And the owners have to learn how to communicate with their pets, and it will make all the difference in the world. It's what their pets are looking for.
So besides fear and anxiety and helping people to bond with their pets, what other types of training do you offer?
Oh goodness, we offer all kinds of training. I love to work with puppies and kitties. When they come in, sometimes you would be surprised, even with puppies and kitties, they do have some anxieties, or they're very excitable, and they need just a little bit of help to blend better with their family. But we can train with obedience training. We can train with, oh my goodness, starting off with knowing that the dog, for example, should sit before every reward. Makes a huge difference. Also, it's important to know that you want to reward calmness in the family. Makes all the difference in the world. And the people have to be calm in order to get that calmness in their pet. So if we start early, it makes a huge difference. We also do the Canine Good Citizen training and testing. I think that is a really important way to work with your pet, because not only are we helping the pet to bond well and be balanced with its own family, but this is a way to help the pet to become socialized, for the dog to meet somebody calmly, for the dog to sit when it's meeting people, for the dog to feel comfortable when its owner walks away and somebody else is holding the leash, for a dog to feel comfortable when it meets another dog and then is able to have a sit down, a meet and greet with that other dog and with the owner, and really feel comfortable. So it brings an animal to a different level. It really makes that dog part of the family, able to go out on outings and trips with the family, and you know with confidence that your pet is really going to do well when it's meeting other people or other animals. So I feel like the Canine Good Citizen training is really a help. And of course we can do the testing right here, and then the animal is given a certificate that shows that yes, it did pass the training, and I do feel that it is a very important thing that we can do for the dog.
Can an old dog learn these new tricks?
Oh, an old dog can absolutely learn new tricks. I learned that many years ago. We had a dog named Wicked, who was an amazing girl, had a lot of anxieties, and I worked with her entire life. But when she was an older girl, she was very sick, had great difficulty walking, and she had to allow me to help her in ways that she had never allowed or had never needed to be helped before. And the things that she learned, even as an elderly girl of 14, was incredible. Not only to allow me to help her, but to allow her brothers and sisters, her dog's brothers and sisters, to approach her, to allow us to make changes in her life even at a late age. And I will say, from my patient standpoint, I have worked with dogs that are 16 years old that have been fearful their entire life. And because we worked with them, because their owners worked with them, because that is the most important, and they brought that home with the pet, that made changes. And at the age of 16, they were able to change, and get over their fear and live a balanced life for the rest of their life, which was phenomenal.
Oh, sounds pretty cool what you can do with an older dog. So at what age would you recommend to start training a dog?
Oh, I would love for everybody to start training when they're puppies, because that makes it so easy. You can take a puppy when it is young, especially when it's before the 12 weeks of age, when it is easy to socialize, when they soak things up like a sponge, and you can make a difference in that pet's life. You can make changes that will formulate the rest of that pet's life, and it makes it so much easier for training. You start them off on a really good foot. However, that being said, you can work with animals at any age. I've got to tell you, dogs especially live in the moment. They want to be balanced. The things they do, they usually do it because they're just not understanding what we want. We confuse them as people. So once we learn how to communicate with them, we can make changes in their life. So if you start when that animal is 1 year old, if you start when that animal is 10 years old, that animal wants to change. Once it sees what you are trying to communicate as an owner, it can make changes, and those changes can help the entire rest of its life. And so when do you start working with an animal? Whenever that animal needs it, whenever you have the time to start early, but any age is fine with the dog. You just have to be a committed owner to make a difference.
So I've seen a lot of very well-behaved kitties here with these dogs too. So could you tell me what, if any, behavioral services can be offered for cats?
Yes, there are many, many behavioral services that can be offered for cats. And people don't always think about my cat is having issues, but I gotta tell you, cats have issues too. I've been lucky enough to have and work with 7 cats, but 4 of them were feral kitties. And they have taught me more about working with cats than anything has in my life. But there are so many parts to a cat that, yes, you can make a difference. For example, cats can be trained as dogs to sit, to fetch, to do any number of things that are going to make it fun and help that cat to get exercise and bond with you. So there are things that you can do to interact with that cat that you might not have thought of. But the thing I see the most is cats that are aggressive to the owners. Oftentimes these are cats that had no socialization when they were babies. Something else that people don't often think about with cats, but sometimes a cat is looking out the window. Let's say it's an indoor cat. Looks out the window, it sees something scary, and that cat redirects, turns around, and bites its owner. Well, you know, that sets off a really bad series of events. But what happened, and you need to understand what that cat was thinking about, was not that it's mad at its owner, but it's what is happening outside that window. So sometimes there's changes that affect a cat that we're just not aware of, and you need to know what they are. You need to do a little bit of detective work on your own so you can make a difference. And I think probably the biggest reason I see cats with behavioral issues is because they are having problems with their housebreaking or their potty habits. They're not making it to the litter box, or they're spraying. There usually is a good reason. I can help you figure out what it is oftentimes, and we can really make a difference in a cat's life just like we can with a dog as well.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Dr. Doering. Is there any other things that you wanted to add?
I just want to add that behavioral work is such an important part of my life. I will tell you, living with 8 dogs and 7 cats has changed my life. It has taught me that I have to be my calmest, best self in order to help these guys. Whatever my emotion is passes to them. If I am calm, they will be calm. And that means in every single situation, I have to be my calmest self. Working with these dogs and cats has changed my life. I can only tell you that if you're wondering what kind of person you are, if you're wondering how well you're doing in this world, you look to the animals around you. I know that when I have animals sitting around me, laying down while I'm on the camera, that I have to be my calmest self. I have to reach down deep into my core to show them that I can lead them, that I can protect them. And they have taught me by watching how they interact with me. They have taught me the kind of person that I not only am at this moment, but that I can even be better. They have helped me to be better than I ever thought possible, because my emotions, I know, spill to them. I know from my clients that bring pets in that sometimes are scared, or sometimes are having difficulty even wanting to come to a veterinary clinic, that myself and my staff, we try to always be our calmest selves. We take a deep breath, makes a huge difference, and when people are here, they're usually in awe at the way their animals act, the way their animals like to come to the veterinarian maybe for the first time. So it makes a difference how you act. It makes a difference what you bring to your pets through your own emotions. And again, behavioral work, bringing balance to your animals, can do more for your own self than you can ever imagine. And it's done so much for me, so much.